Okay. Okay, so Memory was a former student. Memory Cain was a former student of WIU. She got her bachelor's degree in biology. She worked in my lab, and then I believe you got a master's degree in health sciences.
Correct.
And then she worked for multiple years as a pharmacy tech, I believe at Walgreens mostly.
Yes, for 8 years.
For 8 years. So it was it was a pretty big challenge to get to pharmacy school, and you did, you definitely paid your dues. And so I thought maybe you'd talk a little bit about how you prepared to get into pharmacy school, and then what is your journey, and then a bit about pharmacy school now and what it's like for you and how the challenges you're facing at this moment. Share whatever you like, and then we'll probably open it up to Q&A. And there's a lot of students that ask questions, or at least I usually start asking questions anyway. And if any of you want to ask questions, or anybody online, just raise your hand or send a text and I'll try to find it. Okay, so Memory, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to Western, and did you always know you wanted to be a pharmacist? Maybe a little bit about your track.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Memory, and I'm originally from the city of Chicago. I initially began my career with pharmacy doing a program at my local James Jordan Boys and Girls Club. It's like a community college program where you learn like the basic math and things about pharmacy technician. And I did that around in 1997. And so with the course, it was like a 2-week in-class training. And after that, I went to an actual pharmacy and did an intern hands-on. So that was my actual first experience with pharmacy. And from that point on, I knew that that was the career path that I wanted to pursue. So I initially came to Macomb, WIU in 2010, and I knew that I wanted to do something science, but not necessarily like with bodily fluids and things of that nature. And that's the reason why I wanted to choose pharmacy, because you typically don't have to deal with the blood and the saliva and things of that nature. And so even though I had that training, once I got to Macomb at WIU, I had never actually worked in a pharmacy. So my first job as a pharmacy technician was right there at the Walgreens there in Macomb, Illinois. And I began working there in 2011 and all the way until I moved away from Macomb in 2017. And I moved to Springfield, Illinois. And at that time, I actually switched companies and I left Walgreens and I started to work with CVS Pharmacy, which I'm now employed as an intern. And so just working as a pharmacy technician, it's a very challenging thing to do. You have to be smart on math. You have to have knowledge about medications. You have to just really be fast-paced as well. It's a very challenging field, but it's worth it because you get to help people, you get to come into contact with people, and it's something that I really enjoy to do. And so just applying to pharmacy school was a big challenge because you had to have a lot of prerequisites. You have to have a lot of chemistry, a lot of math, a lot of biology. And back in the day, you used to have a PCAT. You used to have to take a PCAT exam, and you used to have a certain score for that as well. They're kind of doing away with the PCAT. So that's not one of the many challenges anymore. So that's a good thing. And so
do you know if they're going to require a different type of test or like a GRE or anything, or is it, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to know, because that BCAT sounded like a big deal.
Yeah, it was. And actually, no, they're just kind of doing away with it. There is not becoming not a requirement anymore for a lot of pharmacy programs.
So you were an undergraduate at Western and was working as a pharmacy tech at the same time?
Simultaneously, yes.
And then you worked on a research project in my lab. And do you remember what you did?
It was with PCR, and it was with the corn. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was working with the corn worms.
Yeah, corn earworm, yeah.
Yeah, corn and worms.
And then when did you get your degree, undergraduate degree?
In 2012.
Oh, okay. And then did you go into health sciences right away, or did you? And
No,
also,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Did you hear what my question was?
No, I waited a few years. I wasn't sure exactly what my next step would be. So I kind of took a couple of years off and waited. And I was like, well, as long as I'm here in Macomb, I might as well go back to school and, pursue my master's. So, yeah.
So how was health sciences compared maybe what you learned in biology? And did they both prepare you in a different way for pharmacy or?
Absolutely. Like this program that I am now at Roseman University Health Sciences, I am in an accelerated program, and it is very, very intense. We test every 2 weeks, and some of the topics that we test on, a lot of the things that I learned from your lab and in the sciences programs there in Wagner has definitely prepared me and helped me. Like that base knowledge has definitely helped me to do well on my exams. Yes. So just learning different things about like DNA, PCR, reverse transcriptase, a lot of those concepts, and having that base foundation is definitely key to my current success now.
What did you learn in health sciences at Western? And would that be a good thing for people to consider for a pre-med route?
Health sciences was geared more towards public health. So that's would be for someone who's wanting to work with people and to do like health education and maybe get their CHEST certification. Yeah.
Were you thinking about working in that field for a bit then?
Absolutely. I was definitely, thinking about a plan B. Well, what if I don't pursue pharmacy? What else would I enjoy, or what might be a plan B for me? And I was thinking maybe public health would be the route, but pharmacy is ultimately what I want to do. And that's what I just thought to pursue. Like, I just have to go for it. Yes.
So you were juggling school while working on a master's degree too. I mean, you're juggling being a pharmacy tech, and were you a teaching? Did you do an assistantship or anything like that in health sciences?
I did not do an assistantship. No.
Was it hard to juggle school and be a pharmacy tech? And how did you try to plan your day to do all that? Because that's a lot, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Definitely, it takes a lot of discipline. You have to have a schedule as far as like just a daily routine. When you get up, you have to know exactly what you're going to do each day and really decide what it is that you want to do, and you do have to like make your weekends fun so that you can focus throughout the week. And what I would do is like, I would typically focus throughout the week, and then Friday and Saturday will be my party days. And then Sunday, I'll get back to preparing for the week. So that was pretty much what my schedule kind of is now as well.
Memory, what kind of classes do you really have to make sure you can get into pharmacy school? I'm guessing things like organic chemistry, biochemistry, but I don't know. Could you maybe go over kind of the list of classes you think are really mandatory to get into pharmacy school? And then, and what kind of GPA would you need to be competitive?
Yes, definitely. You have to have basic math classes, basic English, basic writing. The biochemistry is extremely important. That's what I am testing on now. Chemistry, as well as you have to have one course of physics. You have to have economics. Yes.
What's the name of your pharmacy school again, and where are you located at?
So the pharmacy school is called Roseman University of Health Sciences, and it's located in Henderson, Nevada, not far from Las Vegas.
Oh, okay. And how many pharmacy schools did you apply to, and how did you come across going to this particular school?
To be honest, I was looking for accelerated programs. This program is a 3-year program, and typically pharmacy schools are 4-year programs. So I was interested in Roseman, as well as it was a pharmacy school in Downers Grove, as well as Arizona Midwesterns. They are accelerated as well. And so I pretty much applied to those 2 programs because they offered accelerated 3 years as well as no PCAT. So Yes, that's what I focus on.
So what's the day in the life of a pharmacy student? This is really your first year as a pharmacy student, as I understand.
Yes.
And it sounded like it was a pretty intense, or I guess since you've been out of class a little bit, just getting at all the intensity of all the different classes you were kind of sharing with me. Could you tell us what's it like to be a pharmacy student, and how do you, I guess, survive and prosper and all those kind of things? What do you do to?
Well, you definitely need a daily planner or a calendar on your computer. The day in the life is like, we have classes from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and we get like an hour lunch. And then after that, like during the lunch, they also have like lunch and learns where they have different speakers come in and tell us about different pharmacy careers, like nuclear pharmacy or being in a managed care organization as a pharmacy, different career paths that we can go on. And after that, it's just pretty much studying, making sure that you understand the material from the day's lecture and getting in your study groups and making sure you're preparing for the exams. The exams are every 2 weeks. So, and with this particular program, you test on a Friday. And if you don't pass on Friday, you will come back and retest on Monday. And if you don't pass on Monday, then you take it in the summer. No one tries to come back on Monday and no one tries to come back in the summer. So it's about retaining as much knowledge and so that you can pass the first time on Friday.
Does it get you a doctorate in pharmacy? Is that what?
Yes, it's a PharmD. Yes.
Is that typical for all pharmacists nowadays, or are there some bachelors in pharmacy, or is it all PharmDs these days?
These days, it's all PharmD. You may find some pharmacists who are grandfathered in, who's been pharmacists for like 30 years or more, but now it's all PharmDs. Yeah.
And then what kind of classes do you take there? Like, we think about the typical medical school classes, like it'd be gross anatomy and things, but pharmacists probably take a little bit different set of classes. What kind of are the typical classes that you take at pharmacy school?
Yeah, so yesterday I just tested for an exam. It was called OTCs. And so pretty much we had to learn all the OTC products as far as heartburn, sunburn, skincare, anything that someone will come up to the counter and ask you about, we had to study and we had to know. So we learned about like different, like PCP, like we have like a professional day where we dress up in our pharmacy coats and we have to present presentations and PowerPoint slides on like what we learned about journals and present them. So it's very different and it's very interesting, but it is a lot of work.
Well, now you were talking about that you're learning about the different types of pharmacists out there, because I think the typical person like myself and probably the audience would think of pharmacists as mostly what you see at Walgreens or Walmart. But what are all the different types of pharmacy career tracks out there? And I think it's kind of changing a lot. I don't know if there's some that are involved with working specifically in hospitals and maybe actually even prescribing. I don't know. And then you said something about nuclear pharmacy. So I just wanted to know, what are the different types of pharmacists out there that maybe we're not as likely to be familiar with?
Yes, that's a good question. So a lot of people are familiar with the community pharmacists, and are the pharmacists that you would see at Walgreens or CVS or Walmart. But there's hospital pharmacy is a very common one. And in addition to pharmacy school, you're required to do what's called a residency. And residency, just like a medical doctor, you go and you do a residency so that you can be knowledgeable and equipped to be a hospital pharmacist. A nuclear pharmacist are pharmacists who work with radioactive drugs, and they typically work overnight. There's pharmacists who work with insurance companies like OptumRx and different things like that, advising. There's insurance companies that work in industry with Johnson & Johnson. There's so many different career paths within pharmacy that I'm learning more and more about each day. Yes, and it's fascinating to me.
Is there anything that's surprising you about pharmacy school that you didn't expect? I know you're just getting into it, but is there, I don't know if there's anything you can add to that idea.
just really how much pharmacists are really in industry. Like there's a lot of pharmacists who are like in education, like they just teach courses, and like there's a lot of pharmacists who does not work in the retail. Me having over 10 years experience in the retail, I typically just thought about a community pharmacy, but now I'm like, wow, I could be a pharmacist and I can go and sit at a desk. I don't have to stand up in the pharmacy and hump all day. And so it's just fascinating that there's just different aspects of it that you can go into. Yeah.
What is the ballpark range of a pharmacist make? I mean, and then depending on the setting, and I guess depending on the city, I know all those things can make a difference, but what are maybe what's kind of the salary range for a pharmacist, if you don't mind?
Yes, so the minimum pharmacists make is about $90,000 to $100,000 a year, and some pharmacists can make up to $200,000 a year. Industry is the highest paying one, and the community pharmacy is the least paid salary. But typically pharmacists at your local Walgreens or CVS, they get paid about $65 to $75 per hour, while technicians, they get paid less than $20 an hour. And that was one of the motivating factors for me, is that I would be in the pharmacy working hard, knowledgeable. You see pharmacists coming in fresh, they barely know anything, and I know all the information, and there's like this big, pay gap. And I'm like, I need to become a pharmacist. So that was definitely one of the motivating factors for me to push myself and be disciplined and go through with this intense program.
That's awesome. That's really great. And then let's see what I was going to ask you, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience. Oh shoot. What were some, well, now I'm kind of all over the place, but what was ways that Western helped prepare you that you'd like, and what kind of advice would you give to the fresh students here at Western now for getting prepared for a medical career of some sort? There's a wide range of different interests in this room.
I would say for any medical career that you're wanting to become involved with and pursue as a career, to get involved is definitely important. First and foremost is your grades. Of course, you asked me earlier about what type of GPA students would need. You would need to at least have like a 3.5, and you want to aim for the 3.8, 4.0. Like when I was there, I was in the honors college, and I did try to get involved as much as possible, research, organizations. Like that is so crucial, because that's what programs are going to look for when you apply. What type of extracurricular activities are you involved in? And then when you do apply, you want to have relationships with professors so that they can have something to write about you, and they can know you and know, what to say. So that's very important.
Yeah, it's weird when I get a student asking me for a reference and I barely know them. And, especially, and of course, if some students worked in my lab and really was sincerely interested in research, they're going to get a lot better letter than somebody that just took a class with me. So I think you're right. You definitely need to cultivate your relationships carefully with the people that are going to be writing references for you anyway. Could I open it up and see if some students would like to ask some questions? Obviously, that'd be great. Yes, sir.
So she said she doesn't have to take the pipe.
Yeah, you don't have to. I don't know if you can hear him, but he says she mentioned that you don't have to take the PCAT anymore.
No, you do not. Some programs may offer them. I still require the PCAT, but most programs do not. The one that I am in, Roseman University, and other programs that I applied to, they did not require it. So I believe that requirement is being phased out, but you may find a few programs that still require the PCAT.
And it sounds like there was no other entrance exams required. Is that correct, Memory?
That is correct.
So it's only based on your GPA.
Solely based on, well, a wide range of things. GPA is a big one. And then it's clear that I shouldn't answer for your Memory. Did you hear his question? And so he was asked if it's just based on your GPA, and I'm kind of pointing out that it's not just based on your GPA, but probably the whole application, but you could probably should answer that, not me.
Particularly with this program, if you already had a master's degree or a bachelor's degree, that was a plus. So they pretty much was like an automatic acceptance with a professional degree. But if you don't, and you're like coming straight from like out of high school or something of that nature, then it does rely heavily on your GPA, extracurricular activities, and things of that nature.
I'm assuming just being a pharmacy tech had to have helped you a lot. And then
Absolutely, yes. And that was a great factor.
No. Yes, ma'am.
Is there an interview?
What's the interview process like?
Oh, so the interview, because I was in Illinois at the time and they were here in Vegas, we did a virtual interview of this sort over Zoom. And the interview process was an entire 3 hours. And I interviewed with a professor as well as a student. And then we with fellow interviewees as well. So we did like a Kahoot, and yeah, it was kind of intense.
What kind of questions would they have asked you in the interview, Memory, if you can remember?
They asked you ethical questions. One of the questions that they asked me was like, if there was a drug and it was expired and company policy was to not dispense it, but you know that this drug will save the person's life, what would you do? Another question was like, well, if, do you work well in teams, and how would you be an asset, coming in? Like, are you will you keep going? Are you a hard worker? Things of that nature. How determined you are to complete the program.
Yeah, so how would you answer that question? Because if the drug was just a little bit expired and it's still active, why?
I honestly answered it and I was like, well, you have to follow the company policies because that's typically what you're supposed to do. And the professor was like, what? Like, he was surprised at my answer. He was like, I think the life would be more important, but that's the way I did answer. Yes.
That's interesting. Okay, yes, sir.
How big of a factor was location in determining where you went to pharmacy school?
For me, I wanted to try something different. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, spent a lot of time in southern central Illinois. And so I just wanted a change of state. I wanted to experience something new. And I have family that pulls on me. So I wanted to be kind of at a distance so that I can stay focused. But it was kind of important to me because I didn't want to be in the icy winters anymore. So that's one of the reasons why I did choose this location, because I could have went to Downers Grove as well in Illinois.
So are you liking Nevada?
I am. At first, when I came in July, it was extremely hot. It does get very hot here, like 120 degrees, and I was not used to that. I found out that I do get sunburn. And so now that the weather is changing and it's getting cooler, I'm starting to enjoy it more. The mountains are beautiful. The palm trees are beautiful. It is beautiful here.
All right. We have another question over here, ma'am.
You said you moved from working at Walgreens to CVS. How much did their policies and how they run things change?
They are very different. I originally thought that Walgreens was like the Cadillac, the superior company. And after I left Walgreens, I kind of didn't want to work anywhere else. But once I started working at CVS, I learned that they have a lot of more, they have more protective policies. Like at Walgreens, they have a policy, if you sell the wrong prescription to a patient 3 times, you get fired. At CVS, they have a security procedure where you cannot sell the wrong prescription to a wrong patient. And so I am enjoying CVS. They both are good companies and have different features, but I feel like CVS has a few more protective procedures that focuses on patient safety. Like at Walgreens, you can print out 100 prescriptions at one time and it'll be on the counter. And if a patient comes in, you have to go through a pile of 100 prescriptions looking for this one one patient's prescription, but at CVS, you can only print 10 prescriptions at a time. So there is a lot of differences in their policies, but I like CVS policies better.
Is there such thing though as the old days when you would have a pharmacy that was really owned by the pharmacist, or is that really gone to the wayside?
Yes, that has really gone to the wayside with the big competitors like CVS and Walgreens and Walmart. Like they're just buying people out. When I first started working at the Walgreens in Macomb, Rick Crossett had a pharmacy on the square, but Walgreens brought him out. And so I don't see any more like independent pharmacies too much. However, there are a few pharmacies here that are like compounding pharmacies is what you would see that are independent. Like if they focus on something particular like compounding or like infusion pharmacy, which major retail pharmacies do not typically service.
Could you explain what compounding pharmacist is or infusion pharmacist is?
Absolutely. So compounding pharmacy is like when you have ingredients like a particular one common prescription is magic mouthwash. And it's something that you have to combine multiple ingredients that are not already like in the solution. So you have to combine them for the patient, and you have to do it like in a timely frame, like when the patient is going to pick it up. So you kind of mix the ingredients for the patients to use that they just can't pick up like over the counter or just get through a prescription. Like it's multiple ingredients, like multiple medications in one. And
Yeah.
infusion pharmacy, I'll be honest, I'm not very familiar with, but I was just recently trying to help a patient because I work in the Medicare call center here as well. And we were trying to help this patient and she was not able to get any service from any of the pharmacies. So I'm not very familiar with infusion, but it is not something that's very common.
Yeah. Is there any pharmacies that specialize in, say, in helping low income people, or is it all pretty much just if you don't have insurance? I mean, what do you do for those people that don't have insurance, or maybe your company doesn't do anything particularly? I'm just curious as we think about trying to make healthcare affordable.
There are like, it depends on location. I know when I was working in Macomb, Walmart had like a $4 list. So they had like a list of medications that you can get for $4 for a 30-day supply. When I was living in Springfield, Illinois, there were certain pharmacies like Hy-Vee that like had a similar like list where you can get medications for a cheaper price. But typically, like if people don't have medical insurance, the only thing that they can do is like do a GoodRx or a discount card, or pretty much go to like the Department of Human Service Welfare Office and try to get insurance through there. But there is a new law that's coming out that President Biden passed where all insulin is supposed to be $35 starting in 2023. So that's a big milestone in pharmacy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it seems like obviously pharmacies are really involved with vaccinations and other things these days too. Did you get flu vaccines or anything?
Yes. Typically, I said I never wanted to give vaccines because of the bodily fluids. I said it was something that I would never do. But once COVID hit, the pharmacists didn't have enough time to vaccinate people. So CVS had this training called for immunizers, and I became an immunizer. And I typically vaccinated so many people with the COVID vaccine. And currently now we're doing COVID, flu, just working over the weekends, which I do. Now I vaccinate about 30 to 40 people just on Saturday and Sunday. So
Wow.
yeah.
So are you working right now in a CVS pharmacy?
Yes.
And are they doing anything to help with, since you said intern, do they have a way of trying to help your tuition or anything, or scholarships, or is there any of that kind of stuff that's out there for pharmacists?
What CVS is offering, they have a program called Pathways Program, and it's a program geared towards Spanish communities. And so it's basically, if you learn how to speak Spanish, they will give you, I believe, $3,000 to $5,000. But then you come into an agreement that as soon as you graduate, you'll go and work for them. So if they give you that $3,000 or $5,000, then you're pretty much signing a contract saying that you're gonna go work for them after you graduate. Yeah.
So if are you a pharmacy tech then, or an intern? What's the difference, I guess?
Okay, so a pharmacy technician is just a technician, like you assist the pharmacy in any duties that the pharmacist might need your help with. But now that I'm a pharmacy student, I have upgraded into a pharmacy intern, so which means that I am a pharmacist student. So I kind of trail the pharmacist and learn everything that the pharmacists do. So technically, I can do anything that the pharmacists do, with some exceptions. But yes.
Now, let's say somebody wanted to maybe get this as a job, be a pharmacy tech. How difficult is it? Do they need to have some background? How do you get into being that role?
No, in order to become a pharmacy tech, it's really easy. All you have to do is apply. You do have to have a high school diploma, and it's like on the job training. So pharmacies, they are looking for people. So it would be really easy to obtain the position. However, to maintain the position, you will have to take a test within 2 years to become certified as a pharmacy technician, just saying that you know how to do the basic math. And once you do that, you're pretty much good. Then you do continuing educations like every 2 years to maintain the position.
When you say basic math, is it just, do you have to take like calculus, or is there a certain level of college level math you need?
I would say college math is really as far as converting like kilograms, like if a patient, if a patient weighs, a certain amount, how much medication would you give them based on their weight, things of that nature. And, how much solution does an 8-ounce bottle weigh? Things like that. How many like ounces are in like a 16-ounce bottle? And it's really not hard. It just takes time and patience.
How often do pharmacists have to intervene? Let's say when a physician is maybe prescribed the wrong mixture of medicines.
That is a good question. You wouldn't believe that it happens more often than people think. I would say maybe 1 in every 3 prescriptions. And they have to call and verify and recommend. And a lot of times physicians will call the pharmacy and be like, I don't know what to prescribe. And they would just flat out say it, like, my patient has this problem or this disease state, and like, what can treat this? And that's where the pharmacist comes in at and be like, yeah, we suggest this medication. Yeah.
So we have an online person that wants to ask a question. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, so she said that CVS give kind of scholarship for student. So I wanted to know if the program itself gives scholarship funding for students that are coming in.
No, not necessarily for students like coming in as new employees. Is that what you're asking?
You might have been
Like
muted.
the program itself, do the program give scholarship or funding for student coming in, or is just CVS that gives kind of scholarship for student?
They will give scholarships to people who are enrolled in a PharmD program and who are enrolled in their Pathways program, who's learning to speak Spanish and looking forward to work for them in Spanish speaking communities.
And it sounds like you got a essentially guaranteed job if everything works out. So
yes.
Does anybody have a question?
Thank you.
ma'am.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
Did you get that one?
No, what did she say?
Speak louder.
Like, what's your favorite thing about working as a pharmacy technician?
My favorite thing,
Being a pharmacist or being a farm technician, what was your favorite things? Obviously, you're a pharmacist, becoming a pharmacist. So maybe just tell me.
I'll be honest with you. I am enjoying being an intern, although it comes with more responsibility. As a pharmacy technician, there's a lot of things that you were limited and you would say, oh, that's the pharmacist's problem. But now it's just like, oh, wait, I am the pharmacist. I have to solve the problem. So as a pharmacist, you do have to be able to be a problem solver and you have to think and have strategies. So now it's like, it's more challenging. So it's more fun being the intern at this point. And I'm sure once I become a full pharmacist, it is going to be even more fun for me.
So you're a pharmacy student and a pharmacy intern? Is that
Yes.
typical of pharmacy students, or is that something you're doing that they're not doing?
Oh, that's typical for pharmacy students. Anytime you go into the pharmacy, like into a pharmacy role, the name student and intern are interchangeable.
Okay, okay, so
Yes.
that means everybody that's in your pharmacy program is at some type of pharmacy or something.
Right, yes.
Okay, gotcha. And then, okay, so I was wondering how you would juggle if there was a regular job. Are you getting paid as a pharmacy intern, by the way?
Yes, but there are requirements. They're called rotations. So when I go to volunteer, I'm not getting paid. But when I go to get paid, I'm an intern or yeah.
Oh, okay, so is that hard to juggle both, or is that just kind of a required amount of time you're supposed to do anyway?
Well, it is hard for some people, but with me having, as much experience that I have, it's like a piece of cake for me. But others, it is quite challenging.
And then, and so the classes have been challenging. How have you developed your studying habits, and maybe what would be your way of trying to get kids or students here to understand how to prepare for a test, let's say, or an exam?
I had to try different strategies. I would say definitely try to understand the material yourself first. And if you don't understand it, try to get with your peers, try to form a study group. And then if you still can't get it amongst yourself, go to the professor and ask the professor for help or questions, send an email. I know Dr. Mustard is very helpful. He's always willing to help. He's very supportive. So that's one of the things that I do. I tend to try to go over the material myself first. And if I don't understand it, I'll get with my colleagues and we'll try to figure it out. And if we still can't understand it, we go to the professor with questions.
How is the pharmacy program mapped out? So is it a semester to semester program, and do you work in the summers too? And is it more of a block system, or is it more just and how many classes are you taking per whatever time frame this is all put together in?
To be honest, Dr. Mustard, I'm still figuring that out, but it is a block plan. So right now I'm in my 4th block. And so we go from 1.1 to like 1.17 blocks. And so that's like every 2 weeks. And so in the summertime, what happens is if you fail a block, like if you don't pass it on the Friday or the Monday, then you have to repeat it in the summertime. But during that time, you also have to do rotations at different like community pharmacies. So like in your first year, you rotate to like different 2 or 3 like Walmarts or Walgreens. Then in the second year, you rotate to hospital pharmacies. And then in your 3rd year, you choose which rotation you want to go to, and they open it up so that you can do out of state. Like there's a Boston Medical Center who offers residencies that are kind of like paid, like they'll pay for your expenses. And there's this one pharmacy in Ohio that deals with disease states. So yeah, it's like different rotations and different levels of rotation so that you can see the different types of pharmacy aspects and see which one fits you the best.
Oh, wonderful. More questions?
And I did want to share with you, you said what was one of the things that were exciting to me. I just recently learned about genes, and there's like certain genes that certain populations have, and certain medications react with different genes. So that is something that I just recently learned that was kind of fascinating to me.
Oh, well, anything in particular that you might be able to point out?
like the CYP genes, the CYP 450 chrome, which is like for metabolism. And so there's one called, let me see if I can remember, CYP D29 or 26, and like they interact with warfarin and different things like that, to where it may make you bleed more or bleed less depending on your genotype or your phenotype. And like certain populations, like Hispanics with atorvastatin, with the statins. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
What's a hospital pharmacist's role? Is it different than, is it a little bit different? I'm assuming they might be making up chemos and things that maybe are more exotic type of drugs than you'd get at a typical community pharmacy.
They actually go over patient meds. So they're more like into paperwork. Like they look over patient charts to see what they might be on to be causing their disease, like their disease states. And they do more of looking over blood work, the INRs and things like that. So it's more patient care and working. And what they do is they deliver the patients the medications to the patients. So they are like walking around actually, seeing the patient. So it's different and more interested.
Do they give any special titles to pharmacists? I mean, obviously you have a doctorate of pharmacy, but but the medical community or the physicians may be a little bit, I want to be called doctor. Do they give you any problems, or how would that work out?
They do, but I'm not really familiar with that terminology as of yet. I see the letters, but I'm not really sure what they mean as of yet. Like on some of my professors' names and things of that nature, because all of my professors are pharmacists. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And do they do any research by chance in pharmacy? Is that a track also for you?
Yes, absolutely. There are some professors who are doing research. I actually just joined a pharmacy fraternity called PDC, and they focus on research. So there is a professor here who's doing some PCR, and I think I'm going to continue that because I did do PCR research with Dr. Musser. So I do have experience with that, and that is something that is of interest to me.
Oh, well. And I guess there's also military pharmacy. If some people wanted to get commissioned, they could go into the military as a pharmacist too, I'm guessing. Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know if you get recruiters coming by your school or not.
Yes, we get someone it's on like almost every day. We have lunch and learns, and we have to get like so many points for it. So like we're in our classrooms during lunchtime, just like eating our lunch, listening to speakers such as myself tell us about their career path and how to get and learn more about different avenues of pharmacy.
Ma'am, you have a question?
What type of pharmacy, like the different types of pharmacies that you mentioned, what type are you trying to learn?
Did you get that? If not, I can tell you.
Absolutely. I'm interested in managed care pharmacy. That's like a pharmacist who works alongside insurance companies. Like I am very knowledgeable about Medicaid and Medicare. And so that's something I would like to do. I'm also interested in like ambulatory pharmacy, which is like clinical pharmacy. And I want to learn more about like disease states as well. And something that also interests me is like genomics. Like that's really interesting, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of knowledge. So depending on where my strongest suit is, once I finish the program, is probably the path that I will pursue.
Is molecular medicine becoming more of a reality, and are you getting that kind of training in pharmacy school? I don't know if that's anyway, I guess that's what I was, since you mentioned PCR and genomics and stuff, I just started to realize molecular medicine is kind of the future maybe for some drugs.
Yes, it is. And that's what they're saying, that like people are going to start like knowing what their genotypes are before they even start getting medications prescribed to them. So that is a new thing that's coming out. So that is becoming more prevalent on the radar. It seems like it's an up and coming thing, but that's what I'm learning, that like genomics and things like that is really up and coming, and not just like for for crimes and for ancestral, knowledge.
Anybody else have a question? So what would be your parting advice to a freshman at Western, or some of our juniors and seniors, even some grad students in the audience? What would be your advice that you would tell yourself now you've journeyed on from Western?
I would say that, life is a journey and you're not going to be perfect, but all you can do is really try, really focus on what it is that you want and go for it. Don't waste your time like in a class or doing something that you really don't want to do. And whatever you do, really try to excel at it. Try to be your best. So I would say discipline yourself, Monday through Friday, study, study, study. And then go out Friday, Saturday, have fun, Sunday, get back focused. Like, you can do this, and anything you set your mind to, you can do it. It may take a long time, but it still is doable.
No. I'd like to give Memory Cain, pharmacist to be, a round of applause. We're so proud of you for being a Western alumni.
Thank you.
And we thank you for taking a moment out of your very busy day.
Thank you all for allowing me to share with you.
Take care. Thanks again for joining us. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good luck with your studies.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.